Very good evening, everyone. Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, madam. Good evening,
Ah,
madam.
I'm loud enough. You can follow me, right?
Yes, Miss. Now
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can hear you.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Then last time I finished cognition. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the last part I did? Can you tell me? Because by now I have forgotten. Did I discuss the stage model memory of memory? Can't remember. Stage model of memory, did I discuss? Can't remember, na? Nobody can remember that. It's good if you can actually give me feedback on what I did last year. Is it possible?
Madam, can you repeat the question?
No, what I did last time. What I did last time.
Ma'am, you discussed Gestel's laws of perceptions.
That's all.
Yeah.
I finished at Gestalt. Didn't I discuss the stage model of memory and all?
Nope. The Gestel's laws of perception.
Gestalt laws of perception was the last
Yes.
part did, no?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a continuation then. Continuation
Okay.
of cognition, right?
Okay.
Continuation of cognition. Mm, I have to get to mine. Continuation of cognition. Then I actually discuss the cognition. What is cognition? Then I discuss sensation and perception. And then I discuss Gestalt laws of perception. Okay. Then, did I discuss the implications of Gestalt laws of classroom implications, teacher implications, educational implications of Gestalt laws of perception? Yes, no? I showed you a video.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So then the cognition is a process, as I told you. Then I told you it's a process, and it starts with sensation, and then perception, memory, attention, problem solving, logical thinking, creativity, they all are part of our cognition, right? So sensation and perception we discuss, but memory is also an important part of perception, and especially when it comes to teaching and learning, right? Your students, how they actually put what they learn into their memory, and how they can retrieve when they want to actually solve problems using that knowledge. That is actually referred to as memory. Memory is also a cognitive process. So cognition. Now here, what is cognition? I told you. So cognition is sensation, perception, association, memory, imagination, discrimination, judgment, reasoning, and all that. Okay. The capacity to acquire and apply knowledge is cognition. So cognitive process, this is a recap, sensation and perception. Actually, cognitive process begins with sensation and perception. And then memory, forgetting, attention, problem solving, they are all cognitive processes, okay? So sensation and perception we discussed. I got you to look at Gestalt laws of perception as well. You watched the video and you saw the educational implications as well. And then another cognitive is it clear where we are now?
Ma'am, you are not clear to me. I don't know about the others, but it's like you are like talking under the water, like sounds coming like that.
Now, still the same. Still the same. Am I right? The one who spoke?
They're now getting better.
Now getting better. Let me
Yep.
fix it a bit. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
See now whether it's okay. I will start talking. If
Yeah.
it is bad, tell me. Okay. It's memory. So memory is also cognitive process. So as for the teachers, actually, it is very important to know how our memory works. So if you know how the memory works, so accordingly that you can actually facilitate learning, right? Accordingly, you can do your teaching and facilitate learning if you know how our memory works. So that is why this cognitive process memory is we are discussing today. And a small definition, a very simple definition of memory. Memory refers to the processes that are used to acquire, store, retain, and retrieve information. So I repeat the 4 words: acquiring knowledge, storing knowledge, retaining, keeping it for a while. Keeping it for a while, keeping it in the memory, retain. And then when you want, you will be able to recall them or retrieve that information quickly and solve problems, apply that knowledge and think logically and all that, you know. So memory refers to the processes that are used to acquire, store, retain, and later retrieve information. According to Macklin 2005, memory is the process of maintaining information over time. මගේ මෙමරිය හොඳයි කියලා කියන්නේ නේද, we remember. So maintaining information over time. That is actually memory according to Macklin 2005. But this previous definition, it says your ability to acquire, your ability to store and retain and retrieve information later on, that is our memory කියලා. Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Please respond. Okay. Then, introduction to memory. What is memory? As I told you, encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is transforming information into a form that can be entered and retained by memory system, right? Giving meaning and also something like that. Then storing and then retrieving when it is needed, right? The same thing I told you. One's ability to acquire, then store, and then retain, and then when necessary to retrieve information is memory. So that is what happens in the learning teaching process as well, right? So if you know how this works, you can actually facilitate the learning process. So to look at how memory works, right? To look at how memory works. There are several models that discuss how our memory works. There are several models, but I have taken, as we are actually just beginners, right? I have taken one simple model that describes how our memory works. That simple model of memory is the stage model of memory. There are other actually models also that discusses how our memory works. So this is one simple model, but I have taken it for the discussion. So what is the theory? The stage model of memory the stage model of memory. So we look at what actually stage model of memory talk about, how our memory works. Do you understand what I'm telling?
Yes, ma'am.
Others, please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, good. So we are looking at one of the models that describes how memory works. That is the stage model of memory. Very simple model, okay? But it gives you insights about how memory works, and accordingly that you can actually do your teaching to facilitate learning. So according to the stage model of memory, okay? According to the stage model of memory, our memory works at 3 stages or levels. Our memory works at 3 stages or 3 levels. What are these 3 stages or 3 levels that memory works? Sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. අපි කියනවා short-term memory වලට working memory or the STM, long-term memory. So they are the 3 stages. So in acquiring, storing, retaining, and retrieving information, memory actually begins with the sensory memory. So with all our sensory organs, the 5 of them, we receive information, right? And they enter the sensory memory. So from the sensory memory, they should be passed on to the short-term memory. And from the short-term memory, it should be sent to the long-term memory. Then only that they can store information and retrieve them when they need them, right? So as teachers, we need to know that if you want to facilitate their memory, acquiring, storing, retaining, and retrieving information, you have to first actually get the learner to receive information through the 5 sensory organs and get them to be in the sensory memory. And then they have to pass it on to the short-term memory and the long-term memory afterwards, right? So they are the 3 stages. To understand how actually this works, we will discuss these 3 stages referring to capacity and duration. We look at the capacity of each of the memory and the duration that the memory can last in those memories, stages of memories. So we call it duration and capacity, right? Then you will understand it better. So if you take the sensory memory receives information through all the 5 senses. So once attention is paid, right? So sensory memory has somewhat large capacity. We can hear, we can listen, we can smell and all that. No? We can see, we can taste and all that. So somewhat large capacity is there in the sensory memory. But you have to know its duration, its longevity, it is only 3 to 4 seconds, not minutes. 3 to 4 seconds. When we receive information through the 5 sensory organs, right? Somewhat large capacity is there, but the duration it can be in the sensory memory is limited to 3 to 4 seconds. Not minutes actually, 3 to 4 seconds. And basically this model talks about 2 types of information we receive. The 2 types of information are iconic and echoic. You can take down iconic, ICONIC. That is what we see, right? Echoic, ECHOIC. That is what we hear. This model talks about them and tell that this information we receive from the 5 senses, they first enter sensory memory, but they can be in the sensory memory only for 3 to 4 minutes. Sorry, not minutes, I'm very sorry, 3 to 4 seconds. It's like very, can't understand how long that it can be there. It's only 3 to 4 seconds. So what should happen then? As soon as possible, before 3 to 4 seconds, you need to pay attention to the information. If attention is paid, then this information can be sent to the short-term memory. But the problem is our attention is limited. Because of that, we can give selective attention. We can't pay equal attention to everything. Now you think of you are in the study room or the living room or wherever, right? Now you're listening to me, and then somebody is talking, and then the fan is going fast, making a noise, and then some cats and dogs are kind of barking and meowing and all that, and then your mother is talking to somebody on the phone, but you can't give equal attention to everything, right? It is actually difficult. So you will pay attention to selected information. So if you think that I have to listen to the lecturer, it's a selected attention. Because selective attention is given, because our attention, it is limited. So once actually selective attention is paid, because somewhat limited, somewhat large information can be stored in the sensory memory, but only for 3 to 4 seconds. So then you can't pay attention to everything. So you pay selective attention. Maybe that based on your interest, based on your kind of need, based on some external factors like colorfulness. Now, suppose you are listening to me. There goes a bomb. So you don't want to actually listen to a bomb exploding, but you will hear that. Why? It is a huge noise. So like that, for different reasons, that you pay selective attention. Why selective attention? Because our attention is limited. You can't pay equal attention to all the information in the sensory memory. And it should be done in 3 to 4 seconds. In 3 to 4 seconds, if you do not pay that selective attention, right? What is paid attention is passed on to the short-term memory. What is not paid, right? You have not paid attention. What is not paid attention, they are lost and forgotten from the sensory memory itself. From the sensory memory itself, they are lost and forgotten. Why? You didn't pay attention. Why couldn't you pay attention? Because our attention is limited. You have to select and pay attention to the most important. And why they are forgotten, the sensory memory can keep information only for 3 to 4 seconds. During that 3 to 4 seconds, if attention is not paid due to limited capacities of the attention, The rest is actually forgotten. What is paid attention is passed on to the short-term memory. Is it clear or it's not clear?
It's clear, madam.
Right.
It's clear.
Others? Very good. Thank you for responding. Then once the short-term memory, right? You know the capacity of the short-term memory. Short-term memory can take only magic number 7 of information. What is it? Repeat. Magic number 7 of information. අපි කියනවා 7 units of information. The short-term memory has the capacity for the magic number 7 of information. අපි කියනවා 7 plus or minus 2. 7 plus or minus 2. ඒ කියන්නේ 5 to 9 digits of information can be stored in the short-term memory. Short-term memory cannot take in more than that. So though the sensory memory can take in a lot of information, you have limited attention, and then short-term memory will take only magic number 7 bit of information. So not a big information that you can actually store in the short-term memory. And then what happens? What is the duration that the short-term memory can keep information? Capacity is magic number 7. Duration is 20 to 30 seconds, still not minutes. 20 to 30 seconds, right? It's like the wink of an eye. 20 to 30 seconds. Only that the short memory can keep information in the short-term memory. But only magic number 7 also. So with regard to capacity, with regard to duration, short-term memory is very limited. So that magic number 7 digits of short information in the short-term memory should be paid attention within 20 to 30 seconds. Then it is passed on to the long-term memory, LTM. If it is actually not paid attention, sorry, if it is not rehearsed, actually not paid attention, rehearsed, you have to dabble with that information, right? If you rehearse that information, they are sent to the long-term memory, but it should be done within 20 to 30 seconds. Okay. Anyway, it's a limited information because short-term memory can keep only magic number 7. Within 20 to 30 seconds, it should be rehearsed, practiced, dabbled with, and then they are sent to the long-term memory. What happens if they are not attended to and not rehearsed or not practiced within the 20 to 30 seconds? They are lost and forgotten. They are lost and forgotten, right? Now, suppose short-term memory took 7 magic number bits of information and it is rehearsed and practiced within 20 to 30 seconds. It is passed on to the long-term memory. If it is not practiced within 20 to 30 seconds, they are lost and forgotten. So suppose now it's sent to the long-term memory. It's sent to the long-term memory. What happens? If it is sent to the long-term memory, the capacity of the long-term memory is unlimited. Capacity is unlimited. Any amount of information can be kept there in the long-term memory. Now you and I, how much of information is there in our long-term memory, right? Unlimited. They say unlimited is the capacity. What about the duration or the longevity, right? That is infinite. Infinite කියලා කියන්නේ අපි මැරෙනකන් තියන් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. Now, if you meet with an accident or if you, in old age you get dementia, whatever that you might forget. But if not, right, you can keep them until you die. So infinite and unlimited with regard to capacity and the duration. That is the beautiful part. Okay, that is the beautiful part. Now I ask you this question. What are the insights for the teacher then? How should you plan your teaching to maximize learning? The most important thing is the sensory memory can pass only magic number 7 of information at a time to the short-term memory. At a time. Ehemana, how should you teach? Lots of information at the same time or part by part? Limited information at a time and it's passed on to the long-term memory, practiced and rehearsed, and then it's stored in the long-term memory, another bit of information, right? How should you teach?
Part by part, right?
Part by part. So very important. Asfan, it's very important that you have to present the lessons small part at a time. Get them to pay attention, rehearse, and then store in the long-term memory, then get back and continue from there. I give an example. Now you want to teach them you want to teach them about trees. It's a grade 4 class. You want to teach them about trees. So first you teach them parts of a tree, right? Parts of a tree. So they little bit of information, they are actually paid attention and rehearsed and sent to the long-term memory, then get back and then talk about two functions of each part of the tree. Two functions of each part of the tree. So you first take the trunk. What are the functions of the trunk? Teach it, get them to pay attention and rehearse and put it into the long-term memory. And then get back, what are the functions of the trunk of a tree? Like that. It's very, very important, especially with the young learners, right? Because why? We can improve our memory power, right? You call it, use it or lose it, Kela. We call it your memory, use it or lose it. එක brain එකටත් යනවා. Use it or lose it. පාවිච්චි කරන්න කරන්න ඒ හැකියාව වැඩි දියුණු වෙනවා. For example, if you take short-term memory, chunking is a strategy. Memory strategy. Chunking කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Now, if you take a telephone number, there are 10 digits. 10 numbers are there. No? So how do you actually keep it in mind? You chunk it. What? Not 777 is 1 unit. 222, 1 unit. 33, another unit. You get me? Now, it's a 30, 80. කියලා අපි කියනවා. ඒතර chunking. Chunking improves the capacity. ඒතර අපි වැඩි හිටියෝ වෙනකොට ඒක improve වෙනවා. Right? That happens. And another one I tell you, mnemonics. Mnemonics, උපුල් ඊළඟ නැවෙන් ගිහින් ධම්මිනිදිද බලාවරින් for directions. And when I did Sigmund Freud, I told you the 5 stages: old age, pensioners, life, grapes. That's a mnemonic. It's also actually a strategy that you can actually use to keep the information in the short-term memory longer. And another one is association. Association means now sometimes it's very difficult. Now I tell you, now we were all throughout in Colombo, living in apartments because my husband, my daughter, they all working there. I was working in Colombo and all that. So then with my daughter's confinement, now we are back in our Kalutara house, right? So I started doing little bit of gardening, malvavanava and all that. So I wanted this Cambodia. Hardly that I can keep the names of these flower plants and all that. I have no head for that. But one particular plant, Cambodia, then I wanted to keep it in mind. I said I associated it with the country. And then I did not want to actually keep it, write it somewhere or like that. Because association helps memory a lot, right? You can associate it something that you know, then it helps the memory, right? So there are some strategies. And attention also, you have to get the students to pay attention to the important parts. Why? All cannot be taken into head. Limited attention. Because of that, selective attention is very important. So you can actually get them to pay attention because it's only selective attention they pay to the important parts of the lesson. How do you do that? You raise your voice. You ask a question. You get them to underline. You draw something on the board. You write it on the board, right? Like that, you show them a visual. So then they pay attention to that. That is selective attention. So that is another important message for the teacher. You have to think of the important parts of the lesson and get them to pay attention, selective attention. Why? They can't pay equal attention to all the information present, right? And then another lesson is for the teacher is give them lots of practice immediately after it is learned. Immediately after the information is presented, get the learner to dabble with it or practice it, rehearse it. Then only that it is sent to the long-term memory to keep it forever. Otherwise, it will not be sent to the long-term memory. It will be lost or forgotten from the short-term memory itself. So they have not learned. So I gave you 3 insights by now. One thing is you have to actually chunk your lesson. You have to present part by part, small information, very small information at a time. Otherwise, they can't take in everything because short-term memory has only magic number 7 capacity, right? So it can take only limited information. So lots of information at the same time, you can't actually send it through the short-term memory because long-term memory takes information from the short-term memory only. So it will not go to the long-term memory if you present lots of information at the same time. Okay, you have to chunk your lesson, small parts, and then get them to pay attention and practice and rehearse and store in the long-term memory, get back the next part. That is the first thing. Second thing is attention. They can give only selective attention. Because of that, you have to have used strategies to gain their attention to the important parts of the lesson. Then the third one is as soon as the information is presented, get the learner to dabble with it, rehearse it, practice it by asking them to repeat, by asking them to read, by asking them questions, by asking them to underline or whatever. Then only that they are sent to the long-term memory. Capacity is unlimited. Duration is infinite. Now I ask you some question, right? Now, does everything that you send to the long-term memory, you can retrieve it easily? Now, have you faced situations like this when it comes to you? You go to the exam, you studied it, you know it was there and you highlighted it in yellow and you actually underlined some words and all that you still remember, but the answer you can't recall it. Has it happened to you?
Yes, madam. Most
Yeah,
of
it can happen to your students also. Why does it happen, Afsfan? It is very, very important that you should get the learner to store information in the long-term memory in 2 ways: systematically and semantically coded. Systematically, you have to get them to store information in the long-term memory. Second එක තමයි, they should be semantically coded. I will actually now explain it. Semantically coded means semantics කියන්නේ meaning කියන එකයි. Semantically coded කියන්නේ you know the meaning. With understanding only that you actually learned it. Now, sometimes as students, they don't understand, but they try to actually keep it in their long-term memory. That won't happen because it's not semantically coded. So sometimes you also do that. I also have tried it when I was studying and all that. Sometimes things are like Greek, you don't understand. For example, there are subjects like morphology and all. Morphology, of course, okay. There are some subjects that I couldn't easily understand. And the lecturer was also I had a very bad professors. Komari, I couldn't understand. So what I did was I wanted to actually go and reproduce what I by heart. But when it comes to the exam paper, that I know I studied it, but I couldn't recall it because I didn't know the meaning. It was not semantically coded. It happens to your students also. If they don't understand, but they try to by heart it and store it in the long-term memory, it is actually not stored in the long-term memory, right? That won't actually help them. So always make sure, another insight for you, that what you teach them, they should understand it. If they don't understand, but they try to by heart and then keep it in the memory, it never happens. Long-term memory takes in information which are semantically coded. Is it clear?
Yes, madam.
So you have to make sure your students understand, okay? And then come to the nicest part of it. It is a systematic storage killer. So can you ask your students to, you have to store all this information I give you systematically? No. It is your teaching should be systematic. Then your students systematically get them and store them in the long-term memory. I explain it further, don't worry. And there's a nice analogy here. Analogy killer can a comparison. What is this nice analogy? They say you have to store information in the long-term memory as you store books in a library. So the long-term memory is compared to a library, right? A library having lots of books. If you take the world's largest library, I heard that it's in Qatar, right? It's in Qatar. So billions of books. Now you think of your table, study table, maybe only 10, 20, 30 books. Your friend tells you, Are, can you bring me that note last week? So you're getting ready to go, but you can't retrieve the book from the table. Why? It is messy. But if it is Qatar library, billions of books, it's a matter of a click that you can retrieve the book. Why? It is systematically stored. So long-term memory is like a library. If you store information systematically, retrieval කියලා කියන්නේ පස්සේ රචනාවක් ලියන්න, ගණන් හදාන්න නේද? ප්‍රශ්නවලට උත්තර ලියන්න, නැත්තම් හිතන්න අපිට ඕන වෙනවා ස්ටෝර් කරලා තියෙන information. So retrieval is not possible if they are not systematically stored. The best example is that analogy. Long-term memory is compared to a library. World's largest library, billions of books. It's a matter of a click. You know where the book is. But your table having only 20 books, but it's a mess. You can't actually retrieve the book you want. Get it?
Yes, madam.
So how can you get this learner to systematically store information in the long-term memory? You can't ask them no you can't tell, right? You have to actually get them learn what you present to them in a very orderly, systematic manner. Now I tell you, now we are in the third unit. It is cognition. Now last time I discussed cognition definitions. How many definitions I gave with the small ones? How many definitions that I gave you? I gave you 3. So after the definitions, what did I do? I started to explain the first cognitive process, sensation and perception. So after discussing sensation and perception, how to facilitate perception, what is, I discussed Gestalt laws of perception. How many Gestalt laws of perceptions? 5. ඇයි අපි 5 කියලා කියන්නේ? මුලින්ම 5යි කියලා කියලා ඉන්න ඕනේ. හුඟක් ටීචර්ස්ලා මේ ස්ට්‍රැටජිස් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි අපි 5යි කියලා කියන්න ඕනේ? එතකොට අපේ බ්‍රේන් එක ටියුන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මෙමරිය ටියුන් වෙලා තියෙනවා මොනවටද? Right. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Without telling, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons. If you don't tell, you go on telling, your memory doesn't know how many more to come, how many more to come, how many more to come. So if you first tell, we will learn 5 names of domestic animals, grade 1. And the memory is tuned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't tell your students it's 5 names, they don't know whether there are some more to come. There are some more to come. It will not support systematic storage. So most of the time, the teachers, how can you actually do? You can show where you are, what you are doing, right? And this is unit 3, and this is the third lesson. In the first lesson, this is what we did like that. And they store it systematically. And sometimes when they come to secondary schools, the teacher can ask them after completing a unit, ask them to do a kind of a mind map, not a web diagram and all that. Short writing, getting them to make short notes is or something like that. Then they know the head and tail where they are connected and all that. Then the brain, long-term memory, knows what it is. And then only that the retrieval is possible. Otherwise, now you cram for exams. You don't know where it comes and all that, but just read it and there are 7 points here. Retrieval is not easy because why? It's not systematically stored in the long-term memory. You get my points?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Okay,
madam.
good. So another insight, always actually get the learner to semantically or meaningfully understand what you teach them. Otherwise, it will never be in the long-term memory because you can't get them to retrieve. And at the same time, make sure that they actually know the lessons actually done by you and which unit, which topic, but how many subtopics and all that systematically you teach them, they will actually systematically store it in the memory. Otherwise, retrieval is not possible. So I gave you about 5, 6 teacher implications of the stage model of memory. Just because that you know that how memory works, then you know how you should facilitate it. Is it clear?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Yeah, how many of you are doing all these things in the class? Do you actually present only small part at a time? Do you use attention strategies, gaining strategies in the class? Do you actually, as soon as you present information, do you get the learner to rehearse it by getting them to repeat, by getting them to answers based on something, by getting them to do some mathematics activity or whatever? And at the same time, do you uh, get them to uh, do you get them to what do you call it? Um, do you teach systematically and get the learner to know what you're doing and what is actually how it is connected to the previous lesson and the uh, next lesson and all that? And then do you get them to uh, do you make sure that they have understood the lesson? Otherwise, just by hearting that they won't be able to keep it long in the uh, long-term memory. So that is what that I can actually explain. There are other parts as well, like there are several types of long-term memories, procedural, semantic, and all that. But I'm not going to actually make it more than that. This is enough. Is it enough for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
madam.
listen to it and read your notes because the capacity, the duration, and the teacher implications, they are the most important. Capacity, sensory memory, large capacity, but very limited duration. It's only 3 to 4 seconds. If attention paid, they are sent to the short-term memory. Otherwise, they're forgotten. They don't go to the long-term memory. So they don't get that information in them. So then if it is sent to the short-term memory accommodate only magic number 7 bit of information at a time. And those magic number 7 of information should be paid attention by rehearsing it, practicing it within 20 to 30 seconds. If they are actually rehearsed within 20 to 30 seconds, they are sent to the long-term memory. If they are not paid attention within 20 to 30 seconds, they are lost and forgotten. If they are sent to the long-term memory, duration is infinite, capacity is unlimited. පොඩ ගොඩාක් දාන්න පුළුවන් long term memory එකට. එකපාර ගොඩාක් ඇතුල් කරන්න බෑ කියන එකයි කියන්නේ. And at the same time, another insight is, right, you should actually present your lesson partially, part by chunking it. You should use lot of attention gaining strategies in a lesson. And you should give them lots of practice activities as soon as it's learned. And at the and at the same time, you have to make sure that they understand what you teach. Rote learning will not help long-term memory. And you have to get them to systematically store information in the long-term memory. That means you should teach systematically, then they can take in the information in a systematic manner. Otherwise, that the long-term memory will not support the retaining and the retrieval. Okay, this is about the stage model of memory. Are you okay? Hello.
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now we get to forgetting as another cognitive process. Forgetting after memory, forgetting as another cognitive process. So it's very brief discussion, okay? There are several messages. Let's see. Madam, let me know the topics of presentation. I will. Who talked to you about the topics? Who is this? Who is this? Madam, let me know the topics of presentation. Who is this? What's your name, dear?
What? Oh, එපා ඔයාලා ඔයාලා වැඩ කරා. ඔව් ඔයාලා කන්න ඕන මොනවද කියලා තාත්තට.
Maheshi teacher.
හ්ම්. මේ කවුදන්නේ?
Right, okay. Now we will look at Mahishi. Your mic is not muted. Right. Then forgetting. That is also very good for the teachers. If you can minimize forgetting, right, it means you're maximizing learning, right? So it's a big issue we all face. We forget easily. So if you can minimize forgetting by using strategies as a teacher, so it means you are facilitating and maximizing learning of the students. So it's a brief discussion, but I'm going to talk to you about forgetting by looking at two educational psychologists. One is Ebbinghaus. You can see the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve that I'm going to discuss. And then the other one is Elizabeth Loftus, reasons for forgetting. Okay. So first we will discuss the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Ebbinghaus is the name of the psychologist, and Ebbinghaus talk about forgetting by proposing this forgetting curve, right? In this forgetting curve, he explores, right, the relationship between time and forgetting. Relationship between time and saving otherwise. Time and saving, not forgetting, right? So if you look at this curve, the y-axis from top to bottom, it is the savings, how much of what you learned is actually saved with time, right? With time. So the x-axis about the time going up to 31 days. Here you can see 31 days. How our forgetting or saving of the information happens. The Ebbinghaus forgetting curve explains it like this. Now, as soon as the information is learned, within 30 minutes, Within 30 minutes, you can see the arrow. Within 30 minutes, you have only 60% of what you learned saved. 40% is gone, forgotten. 40% is gone or forgotten. After 30 minutes, right? Only 60% remains of what you learned. Then if you take 1 hour, timed in 1 hour, right? After learning some new information, after 1 hour, only 45% of what you learned remains saved. That means 55%, more than half of it is forgotten or lost, right? Then 1 day, Gamu, 1 day, only 35% remains by the end of the day. That means the rest of the 65% is lost or forgotten. Then if you take 2 days, it's 30% of what you learned saved, remembered, the rest is forgotten. And then you take 6 days, again 28% like that you remember, saved. And after 31 days, still you are in 25, the same. So what is the message given here? Can one of you have an educated guess here?
Yes, for 31 days, we just can remember what we have learned, just 25% only. So we have to recall it all the time.
Very good. Very good. As soon as the information is learned, there's a tendency to forget them very quickly, right? Because of that, you have to actually give them a lot of practice activities. You have to rehearse that information. But if you can actually keep it without losing it for 1 day, for 2 days, and then after 6 days, you know there is no forgetting. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Initially, it's actually very steep, the curve. So you easily forget. So what is the message given to the teachers through the Ebbinger's forgetting curve? When you present them information or knowledge, you have to give them a lot of practice activities. That is why we give them homework, right? In the class, after teaching something, we give them a lot of activities to do. And then after going home, that is at the end of 1 day, you give them homework to do. And sometimes some schools have weekly tests. Why? ඒතර weekly test වලට ළමයි පාඩම් කරනවා. එතකොට 6 වෙනි දවස වෙනකන් තියාගන්න පුළුවන් වුණොත්, if they can keep information till 6 days, then you can say hardly they are forgotten. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. This is about the Ebbinger's forgetting curve. I think the teachers have an insight. As soon as something is learned, a lot of practice activities should be given. And giving homework, having weekly tests, and all that will help you, because then if they study for the weekly test, then after that, they don't forget a lot. You know, the line is very kind of, yes. Then we'll come to Elizabeth Loftus, right? The next slide. Elizabeth Loftus, you can see the name. According to Elizabeth Loftus, there are 4 reasons for forgetting. So if you know what are the reasons for forgetting, you can actually do something to minimize it. No? Right. According to Elizabeth Loftus, there are 4 reasons for forgetting: retrieval failure, interference, failure to store, motivated forgetting. Now, failure to store, you already know. Why do they fail to store? Because you don't get them to pay attention. You don't get them to rehearse. You don't get them to know the meaning. They don't know the meaning. You don't, because of that, it's they fail to store, especially when attention is not paid and when practice, it is not rehearsed or practice. They fail to store it in the long-term memory, that you know. Then the first one, retrieval failure. Now they have studied but they can't retrieve information from the long-term memory. It happens to you also. Exam time, exam එකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා දවසේ cram කරගෙන යනවා පාඩම් කරලා. හැබැයි you can't retrieve it. Why? Cramming. That means no systematic storage, not semantically coded, then the information cannot be retrieved. If the information is not systematically stored in the long-term memory, if the information is not semantically coded, it is difficult to retrieve them from the long-term memory. Then interference. Interference means now existing memories, existing knowledge, existing information does not match with, does not match, but they actually don't allow you to take the new information in. The existing information sometimes comes in the way, and they don't allow you to actually understand or store the new information in. I will give you an example for interference here. If you all are language teachers, may not be language teachers, we all know English, right? So in the primary, you teach them past tense and the past tense, past participle of the verb. They are formed by adding ed, ed. මුලින්ම උගන්නන්නේ එහෙමයි අපි. So jump, jumped, cooked, කියලා අපි උගන්නනවා. Then later on, when they come to grade 6, you start teaching them irregular verbs. Sing, sang, sung, write, wrote, written, like that. But your students, even though you have taught them there are irregular verbs and they don't actually take ed, ed to form past tense and past participle, there are 5 other ways. They continue to write eated, writed, and all that. Why? Their previous knowledge interferes with the new information. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So teachers la විදියට ඒව ගැන තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. Teachers la විදියට ඒව ගැන තේරුම්. For example, if you're a language teacher, you have to know sometimes interference might happen because they have learned it like this. Now only we are introducing irregular. So ඒකට අවධානය දීලා you have to understand that interference can happen කියලා. So then you have to actually take remedial measures and get them to learn. Then the motivated forgetting, the last one, that is also very important to you all. Motivated forgetting is like, psychoanalysis school of thought. Sigmund Freud, Erik Erikson අපි කතා කරේ. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අපේ unconscious mind කියන එක. Motivated forgetting එන්නේ එතනදී. Unconscious mind. So conflicts are stored in the unconscious mind. නේද? එතකොට motivated forgetting. If something unpleasant happens, right? If something unpleasant happens, maybe subject matter, maybe experience or whatever, they can't actually remember that. They actually forget it. It's a defense mechanism in the body. They get him or her to forget that. Now, this is very true when it comes to abuse. Now, child abuse, sexually or physically or whatever, verbally, it is too much for the young ones to actually deal with it. Because of that, the body has a defense mechanism. Psyche has a defense mechanism. And they actually tend to forget that. I will give you an example relating it to the school context. Now, the teacher is abusive, shouting at children. And there can be some students, those who are very sensitive. Whatever you teach them, he or she can't remember anything of them. Right? You go on teaching and the child can't learn. Why? Because the child has kind of a fear. And because of that, the child actually tend to forget the experience with the teacher in the classroom. Okay, so according to Elizabeth Loftus, there are 4 reasons. Retrieval failure. Why? They are not semantically coded. They are not systematically stored or teacher has not taught systematically, the students can't systematically store them, right? Interference, existing knowledge sometimes comes in the way, right? Failure to store, attention is not paid, not practiced and rehearsed enough. Motivated forgetting, it's a defense mechanism in our psyche to actually deal with the unpleasantness. So in schools also it happens. If a child is bullied all the time and the teacher actually ignores it, and it actually affects the child, and sometimes the school, what happens in the class, what is taught, everything is forgotten by the learner. So with that, we come to the end of our unit 3 cognition. So in the unit 3 cognition, I discuss what is cognition, the definitions. Then the first two processes of cognition, sensation and perception. Then Gestalt laws of perception. And then we discuss memory, how memory works. Memory also I define. Acquiring, the process of acquiring, storing, retaining and retrieving information. And then to discuss how it works, we look at stage model of memory. There are 3 stages with regard to duration and capacity. With regard to duration and capacity, we discuss it. And then we look at forgetting, Ebbinger's forgetting curve and Elizabeth Loftus' 4 reasons for forgetting. Okay,
Yes, madam.
right, very good. So, we have to move on. We can start the new unit 4. Before that, I want to ask you this question. Do you understand what I'm discussing?
Yes, madam.
හැබැයි පාඩම්
Yes.
කරන්න ඕනේ නේ. එහෙම
Yes,
එකක්
ma'am.
තියෙනව නේද?
Yes, ma'am. We need
Not
to
that
listen to again
easy.
and again
Yeah,
for the
listening is very okay, very good. But studying is actually very important, because you can't beat about the bush when it comes to psychology. You have to know the terms, you have to know the theories, you have to know the concepts. Study කරන්න නැතුව නම් මේක කරන්න බෑ. අනිත් ඒවාට වැඩි වෙනස්. Okay? Now here, this is the assignment that I'm going to give you. Okay? Can I show it to you?
Please,
It's a
ma'am.
presentation. It's a presentation. Okay?
Individual presentation or group presentation, ma'am?
It's individual presentation, because you all are not physically attending classes or anything. No. So you may not be able. Now, if your partner or your members, team members are not actually supportive, you're going to be in trouble. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, as you all are not meeting each other on regular basis, I prefer if you do individual assignment, because my experience, always complaining. I'm having 2 other members. I don't know who they are even. They're not interested. They're not coming. They're not communicating. Big issues. I also can't help it. So because of that, I prefer, as it's online, I prefer if you do individual. Okay. Now the topics that I will give you. Right. Right. Can you see what I have shared?
No, madam.
Ma'am.
No,
Not bad.
assignment, wait. PowerPoint. Presentation. PowerPoint presentation, individual. Right. I will give you 5 topics. Right? Now, I think I have not finalized it yet, Kiela. Is it enough if I give you if I send you the topics by Monday through your coordinator? Is it enough?
Okay, ma'am, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, of course, I'm going to be very busy. So I don't think that I can. Now, tomorrow also we have lectures, then I need that.
No, madam, still we didn't get the PowerPoint presentations.
Eh, kya nahi?
The previous ones,
The
madam.
previous ones, madam,
I have
we didn't
sent,
get a single.
no, I have sent, no.
We didn't get a single one, madam.
I sent it to the email and I told the coordinator also, I have sent it through email, Kiala. I have done. Anyway, again, we are having it on the 10th. Then 13th also, we have another session of educational psychology. So, presentations dala තියෙනවනේ the 26th. That day I'm unable to do. I want to tell you because I actually confirmed. I said, okay, I can get you to do the presentations on the 26th, Kela. But I have to tell you, I'm not available because my campus, I'm working, I'm part-time. My campus has some big event that day. So 27th, it's a holiday anyway, neither. I won't be able to do that, Puta. Is it okay? So this date is going to be changed. Okay. We will put it into next month, March. Is it okay?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Fine.
Yeah, that is first week of March. Okay. I will inform the office also.
Excuse me,
Because,
ma'am.
yeah,
For a presentation coming month, next month.
Then, ma'am, when we have to submit it?
you don't have to submit. No,
We have to
it's a
present it, ma'am.
presentation. No,
Yes, ma'am. Is this presentation?
I don't get your
But
question.
then how are we going to present it?
Ma'am,
madam?
just give the description how to do it, and when the presentation, how to explain. Could you give an idea? Because
Right. I will tell
the
you.
first
Now,
time
this
we are
is what
doing.
you have to do. You have to actually use PowerPoint presentations. So it's a PowerPoint presentation for 4 minutes maximum, not more than 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. I will give you 5 topics. Okay. You have to select one of them and present. Is it okay?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
yes, ma'am.
Right. I
Miss-
will give you a choice. There are 5 questions, 5 topics with explanations, and you can actually do the present. For example, look at this task 2. Define learning and discuss its significance in psychology. Study the following scenario and provide your solution. So, scenario එක මෙහෙමයි. Assume that you are a primary school teacher of a 3rd grade class. You have noticed that some students struggle with staying focused during lessons and often exhibit disruptive behaviors, such as talking out of turn or not completing assignments. To address these challenges, you decide to apply principles from classical conditioning and operant conditioning to create a more conducive classroom environment. එතකොට ඔයා මේක කොහොමද මේ සිනාරියෝ එකට ඔයාගේ සොලියුෂන් එක දෙන්නේ? එතකොට පොඩ්ඩක් තියරි කියන්න ඕනේ. In classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov. Association. So this child, I have noticed that this child, though disruptive and misbehave in the classroom, the child likes to work with his best friend. So because of that, I thought of going by Pavlov. So ඒක ටිකක් තියරි නෙමෙයි. ඒතර ඒක කැමති නම් ඒක තෝරගන්න පුළුවන්. තේරෙනවනේ. ඒක very challenging. හැබැයි එහෙම නැත්නම් මෙහෙම නේද? Discuss how the teacher can apply the concepts related to Maslow's hierarchy of needs in classroom to motivate the students in the learning process. තාම අපි ඒක කරේ නැහැ. Now go to the first one. Stage model memory and its implications for the classroom teaching. You can talk about it. Gestalt laws of perception and their educational implications. So if you take that topic, you can actually talk about Gestalt laws and how they are going to be applied in the education system by you. So I will give you 5 topics and you can select any one of them, and you have to prepare slides. The slides, you can have only 5 slides maximum, and you can share the slides and have the video cam on, and I can see you, and you have to present. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
right. Then further, I want to tell you, මම ලකුණු දෙන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. ලකුණු දෙනකොට PowerPoint slides overcrowded වෙන්න බෑ. ඔක්කොම ලියලා PowerPoint එකේ බලාගෙන කියවන්න බෑ. You can't read from the paper because I know even if your webcam is not on, but the way you speak, I tells me whether you're reading from the paper, whether you're prepared and all that. එතකොට now I can see you, ne? So your facial expressions, your voice modulation, your confidence, if you practice it and come, you can easily score, right? And then content and then language. So this is prepared. PowerPoint presentation is prepared work. So you do now, even today, actually, I check if there's a new word, I check the meaning, sometimes pronunciation and all that. So you also, it's a learning process. So you also have to, if there are new words that you do not know how to pronounce it, right? You can actually check online, click. It's a matter of a click now, not like our time, right? You have to learn. So you have to, it's actually, even if your English is not very good, if you're prepared, you can actually do a nice presentation because you can prepare and come down. එතකොට තව එකක් තමයි time management. If it is 3 to 4 minutes, you can't exceed 4 minutes. It's very important in a PowerPoint presentation. And then the degree of preparedness is very important because PowerPoint presentation, they say practice makes you perfect because it's prepared stuff. So you can practice it and come, and then it will be very nice and perfect, and you can go for all the marks that I allocated. Is it enough about the instructions for the presentation? I will be writing everything in the Word document, and I will be giving you the instructions and the topics and everything in the assignment, black and white. Okay?
Can you share the one PowerPoint example one so we can go through it and see how to make it take as an idea?
No, dear, I really don't have right now. But actually the PowerPoint presentations that I use is a sample. Am I right? I don't jot down everything on the PowerPoint.
No, you were describing when you are teaching to us, and
Yes,
this is where we
yes.
note down.
Yeah, yes. Only the images, only the keywords. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you can read further on. Now, actually speaking, I want to tell you this much also. Now, this is not psychology. I have to quickly finish also. So I will speak fast. You will try to grab it. You have to, PowerPoint presentation, it has a structure. PowerPoint presentation has a structure. The structure is introduction, body, conclusion, question and answer. But you don't have to worry about question and answer. We are not going to conduct that stage. But when you present, I should see the clear structure. Now, if it is the introduction, you have to introduce yourself first. Now, you have to greet, address the gathering, introduce yourself, introduce the topic, introduce the outline of the presentation. පහක් දේවල් වෙන්න ඕනේ introduction එකේ. දැන් විනාඩි 4 ගන්න පුළුවන් half a second, half a minute, less than half a minute. But you're very well prepared, very fluent. You don't need much time. 20 to 30 seconds would do. හැබැයි introduction එකේ ඔය පහ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකද? Greeting, address, ladies and gentlemen, එහෙම නැත්නම් my dear lecturer and my colleagues, like that. Greet, good morning, good afternoon, my dear colleagues, like that. That is greeting, addressing, then introducing yourself, introducing the topic, and then introducing the outline of your presentation. Very important. මං කියන්නේ ඇයි outline එක කියන්න ඕනේ? එතනදී තරයි selective attention තමයි audience එක දෙන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ වෙන තැනකට ගියොත් ආයි නැවත එනකොට she is now in the second point කියලා දන්නවා. So very important, right? Then come to the body. Body එක තමයි අර big topics, subtopics and all that. And then conclusion. Maybe 1 or 2 sentences. But still there should be a conclusion. And then after that you can ask if you have any questions. I'm ready to answer your questions now or something like that. එතකොට එතන ඉවර කරන්න ඕනේ. එතන 4 minutes වලට වැඩි යන්න බෑ. I want to tell you something. අපි presentation එකක් කරනකොට හැමතිස්සෙම body එක පටන් ගන්නකොට typical විදිහටම පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. You can actually give it a hook. අනිත් ඒවා අල්ල ගන්න hook එකක් වගේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට අපි කතා කරනවා as a teacher. ඇත්ත අපි කියන anecdote එකක් යන්න පුළුවන්. quote එකක් යන්න පුළුවන්. quotation එකක්, anecdote එකක්, rhetoric question එකක්. තේරුණා නේද? rhetoric question එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ question එකක් අහන්න පුළුවන්. Nobody is going to answer it for you. You are not going to get anybody to answer. Right? Okay? Have you ever felt not motivated to do something? Yes, it applies. Our students, our learners are also not an exception. අන්න ඒ වගේ හුක් එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ පළවෙනි පටන් ගන්නකොට. ඇනෙක්ඩෝට් එකක් එක්ක මේ සිනාරියෝ එකක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. ස්ටෝරි එකක් හදලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් quotation එකක් ලියන්න පුළුවන්. එක එක ස්කෝලර්ස්ලා කිව්ව quotation එකක්. Reading make the full man is a quotation, right? අන්න ඒ වගේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයාලට පුළුවනි as I told you rhetoric question එකක් වගේ එකක් අහන්න එක අපි කියන hook එක කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ දැන් ඔය ඔක්කොම දැන් ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක මං කියලා දුන්නානේ. ඒ ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක මට පේන්න තියෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ඊට පස්සේ ඒකේ තියෙන ඒ ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක පවත්වගෙන යනකොට you need to use language for PowerPoint presentations. Very important. Language for PowerPoint presentations. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Right? එතකොට ඒව ඔක්කොම fixed language expressions. Now, let me introduce myself first. ඒක ඇත්තටම fixed language expression එකක්. Then moving on to the next point. First, second, third, they are all fixed language expressions. Then conclusion එකට ආවම කියනවා. In sum, to give you the summary. In conclusion, අන්න මම දන්නවා මේ ඔයගේ summary conclusion part එක. As the take home message, මම දන්නවා summary එක කියලා. They are all fixed language expressions. So you can use in 4 minutes. You can use about 25 or more than that fixed language expressions. ඒකත් obviously පේන්න තියෙන්න ඕනේ මට. Why? You're just coming and doing an PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes you do not know that it has a structure කියලා. I want to see that clear-cut structure. සමහරවිට conclusion එකට එක වාක්‍යයි කියන්නේ. It's okay. In summary, in conclusion, the gist of my presentation is under summary. So now I'm open for your questions and answers. And a fourth part එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. Got my point?
Yes, ma'am. Just a bit. Sorry for a lot of questions.
No problem.
As an instruction part, this is the greeting, address, and introduce self, the topic outline. Those are the things we need to verbally have to be. Introduction means in the PowerPoint, we need to give according to our topic. And that introduction we need to insert to the PowerPoint, no?
The first slide is actually that, no? You don't have to say good morning and ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, but your name, your registration number, and your topic. All the three are
Okay.
there. And then the second slide is for the outline. Outline should be shown, right? And then there are 3 other slides for you to actually develop the body.
Yeah, it's a body conclusion and Q&A.
Yeah, that is it.
Okay, right. Got
So
it.
there's no the way, but I want to see that you know the structure of a PowerPoint presentation. You are
Okay.
using purposefully using fixed language expressions. මම ඔයිට වැඩි කියලා දෙන්න යන්නේ fixed
Okay,
language
got it.
expressions ඇයි අවශ්‍ය කියන එක. ඇත්තටම එතකොට තමයි follow වෙන්නේ.
Hmm.
Presentation එක, even if we miss something, we can still catch it up. Okay?
Yes.
That
Yes.
is why they are there. අපි බලමු ලියුමක් ලිව්වත් බලන formal නම් there's fixed language expression නේ.
Yes.
Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah.
Then it's my pleasure, right? It's much appreciated. So lots of fixed language. In formal language, there are fixed expressions. So speech උත්තේන පොඩක් search කරලා ඒවා බලන්න පුළුවන් ඔයගලන්ට. හොඳට prepare වෙන්න. This is a learning opportunity for you. Okay? I will be sending you the topics. You can select මම ඔක්කොම instructions උත් ඒකේ දානවා. Marking criteria දානවා. Then you can be actually ready accordingly, but it will be by Monday only that I will be sending it. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Then next month, first week වගේ තමයි අපි presentation කරන්නේ, though it is 26. I said the campus now I'm available, but today only I learned that I can't be කියලා. Yeah.
Madam, when do we have that?
I told you, no, it will be postponed to March first week. When they said the හිතේ තියන් ඉන්න March first week කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. Okay?
Madam, is it video online?
Yes, Jayasuriya. Sanat Jayasuriya නේද? Video online කියන්නේ මෙහෙමයි. You have to share the PowerPoint and then have the webcam on. Then I can see you. Got it?
Thank you, madam. Thank you,
Right.
madam. Yes.
Yeah. I will be sending you all the instructions with the topics by Monday only. Tomorrow and day after I'm going to be packed. Okay?
Excuse me, madam. Can I
Yeah.
ask to clear my question?
Yeah.
Doubt? Yes, madam. This is my first class. I didn't attend the previous class. Now I'm new student to this class.
Okay.
I have a doubt that these presentations going to do coming next month.
Yeah.
Next month. Which date, miss?
Which?
When they when will
Date is already fixed for this month, no 26th. Now I told the campus that I'm available on the 26th for the presentations, but today I learned, so I'm working full time elsewhere and our campus is having a function, so I'm not available. So it's to be postponed and rescheduled for March first week. Exact date I can't tell you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right, okay. Now, what I can, right. I will make sure that you are sent all your lecture notes, Kayla, right?
Ma'am, if it's possible today, can you upload the presentation to the chat
I have no direct chat ekana. It takes a lot of time, and my internet connection is also not very steady, you know.
Okay,
Then lots of stuff, ne? Not today's
Yes.
one also. And there are some those who don't attend also, ne? If they
Oh.
are absent, then they can't download. So always lecture notes to be shared through the coordinator. I will actually speak to him and see to that, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Then I'm going to get you to look at learning, okay? Learning as our unit 4. මොකක්ද unit 4 එක?
Madam,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Madam, during the presentation, first of all, after the intro and all, we are explaining the slides, no? So after
Yeah.
that, we can ask questions, no, to the audience.
That of course I have no time. It's good if we can do like that, but maximum 3 to 4 minutes කිව්වම then you need time to share, stop sharing and all that. And then a question and answer session, I'm not going to do that because then it's time consuming. I have to set aside at least 10 minutes for one student. So this is a large class, nene.
Okay, madam. Then we can assume that we are asking, so we can say
Yeah,
the question and we can explain it, no? Like that?
no need. You do your presentation, you have only 4 minutes there. Then you can say, now this is time for question and answers and stop. Okay?
Okay, madam.
Right. Because of the time factor. Okay? Because of the time factor. So then we are in unit 4. That's unit 1 එක අපි කතා කරේ introduction to psychology. එකේ ගොඩක් කතා කරා එක දවසේ. ඊළඟ unit 2 එක life span development, child psychology කියලා අපි ගොඩාක් කතා කරා ඒක ගැන. අපි හිතන්නේ 3 days ගියා අපිට ඒකට. ඊළඟට cognition. We finish it in 2 days, third unit. Now the fourth unit. The fourth unit is learning. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Learning. This is what I'm going to cover in this. I think that I have to take, we have only 2 more days. So I will be doing, I will be trying to do maximum that I can do. Let's see how it goes. Learning, very important for you. Am I right? Because you all are teachers. You all teach for your students to learn. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to look at what psychology has said about learning, what educational psychology has said about learning. Okay? So this is what we are going to discuss. What is learning? ඇත්තටම කාගෙන් හරි මම ඇහුවොත් ඕගොල්ලන්ගෙන් what is learning කියලා, you might say it is the process of acquiring new knowledge, understanding, behaviors, skills, values, attitudes, and preferences. Right? It's the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Not only knowledge, skills, attitudes. Attitudes වලට අනුව behaviors and preferences කියලා. Right? It's a very simple explanation about what is learning. It's the process of acquiring new knowledge, skills, and attitudes, and changing our behaviors and preferences accordingly. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is what is expected in learning. හැබැයි in educational psychologists believe that learning is something very difficult to define. There's no the definition that one can give to the word learning, right? According to educational psychologists. They say it's something very difficult to define. There's no the definition. එක definition එකක් දෙන්න බෑ. If you really want to understand what learning is, right? If you really want to understand what learning is about, Woolfolk, නම පේනවා මේ නිල් පාට slide එකේ. Woolfolk 2004 කියනවා, look at what learning is not about. I repeat, if you learning is very vast, something not that easily explained or defined. But if you really want to know what learning is about, look at what learning is not about, Kela. Got it? Got it?
Madam, can you explain it again?
Yeah, I can. Right. Now I'm going to I gave you a simple definition of learning. Learning is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Right? Accordingly, changing your behaviors and preferences. ඒක සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක්. හැබැයි educational psychologists ලා කියනවා learning is something very difficult to define. You can't easily define what learning is. It is very vast and broad and very difficult to give a the definition. එක definition එකක් දෙන්න බෑ. එහෙම කියලා Woolfolk කියන 2004 Woolfolk, the educational psychologist, the researcher, according to Woolfolk, if you really want to understand what learning is about, look at what learning is not about, Kela. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Enough to understand what learning is about, we are going to look at 4 NOTS knots, not KNOTS, right? 4 NOTS knots. Okay,
Okay.
right. The first knot, NOTA, according to Woolfolk, right? We learn not only knowledge. Got it? We learn not only knowledge. ඔගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්න ඕනේ. අන්න එක knot එකක්. අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නේ දැනුම විතරක් නෙමෙයි. We learn not only knowledge. එහෙනම් not only knowledge නම් තව මොනවද? එහෙනම් what is indirectly suggested? We learn skills and attitudes as well. So look at what is not about learning. We learn not only knowledge. Knowledge එක විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඉගෙන ගන්න. Not, first not. And what is the indirect suggestion? We learn skills and attitudes along with knowledge. That is the first point. Is it okay?
Yes.
Second one. We learn not only right things. We learn not only right things. Not only right things. එහෙනම් අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න හරි දේවල් විතරක් නෙමෙයි. එහෙනම් indirectly what is suggested? We learn wrong things as well, incorrect things as well. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Third note taker. Third note taker. Learning is not always intentional. Learning is not always intentional. Not always intentional. ඕන කමින් හැමතිස්සෙම අපිට ඕන දේ විතරක් intention එකකින් ඉගෙන ගන්නෙ නැහැ. අපි හැමතිස්සෙම intention එකක් තියාගෙන මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා ඉගෙන ගන්නෙ නැහැ. එහෙනම් what is the indirect suggestion? Learning can happen unintentionally. Unintentionally as well. Why? අපිට මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා ඉගෙන ගන්න ගිහිල්ලා ඉගෙන ගන්නව නෙවෙයි. Now, for example, you watch a movie. It's a Korean movie. You don't want to learn Korean language, but you will learn Korean language by watching it. Am I right? Sometimes you may pick it up.
Yes.
So unintentionally also we do a lot of learning. The fourth one, learning happens not only in the classroom. Learning happens not only in the classroom. And indirectly suggesting outside class, at home, in the neighborhood, going on a field trip, everything is an opportunity for learning. Right? So I will repeat. What is learning? Generally, we can say learning is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and attitudes, and accordingly changing our behaviors and preferences. But educational psychologists are of the opinion that learning is vast, broad, complex, and it's very difficult to give the definition for learning. But Woolfolk, being an educational psychologist, he says, if you really want to understand this complex process of learning, better look at what learning is not about. And he proposes 4 knots, NOTS. The first knot, we learn not only knowledge, indirectly telling you we learn attitude, skills, etc. Second knot, learning is we learn not only correct things, indirectly suggesting we learn wrong things as well. Third knot, learning is not always intentional. හිතේ තියාගෙන හිතේ බලාගෙන ඉගෙන ගන්න නෑ. එහෙනම් we learn unintentionally as well. Fourth one, we learn not only in the classroom. That means everything and everywhere else is a place for learning. So you can actually take them for field trips, simulations, like, homework, everything can be given. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. Now we look at the learning theories we are going to discuss. So there are several theories that we can discuss. There are actually few theories that discuss what learning is about. How learning happens and all that. But in this module, we have about 4 or 5 learning theories. There are others as well, but we are looking at 5 learning theories. Here, the 5 learning theories that I get you to look at: classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov, operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner, socio-cultural theory of learning Vygotsky, information processing theory of Gagny, social learning theory of Bandura. In a very brief manner, we will be discussing. So the first one is, what is the first learning theory we are looking at?
Classical conditioning of Ivan Pavlov.
Very good. So then look at this. I take both of these, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. They are 2 learning theories. I actually take them, both the theories, out of the basket because both the theories, classical conditioning and operant conditioning, are behavioral learning theories. If not, they are from the behaviorism as the school of thought. Can you remember the first day what we discussed as the 4 major schools of thought of psychology? Can you remember? The 4 major schools of thoughts or assumptions of psychology? Can't you remember?
Psychoanalysis,
Yeah, that is it.
behaviorist,
Behaviorism.
humanistic, cognitive.
Very good. Who is this? I couldn't actually get your name.
I'm Chaturani, madam.
Yeah, Chaturani. Yes, very good. Very well done. So that is the introduction I gave you. එතකොට behaviorism කියලා කියන්නේ those psychologists believe that our behavior, our mind is reflected through our behavior. So our behavior is our response to the environment. Environment is everything not within us. It's not the trees, flowers, and all that. Our neighbors, our family, our culture, our religion, our school, our campus, everything is our environment. Okay? So behaviorism, actually they talk about learning theories, classical conditioning and operant conditioning, believing in that now the behavior is the learning. Learning happens as a result of our interaction and response to the environment. Okay? එතකොට psychoanalysis, the existence of the unconscious mind. So all the conflicts and childhood experiences and irrational thoughts stored in the unconscious mind. That is psychoanalysis, pioneered by Sigmund Freud. Then cognitive psychologists, they believe we just finished cognition, the unit, the internal mental capacities of sensation, perception, attention, memory, how they actually influence our learning. And then if you take humanism, that is the development of self-concept and becoming self-actualizers and all that. හරිද? මම recap එකක් දුන්නේ. දැන් පොඩක් මතක් වුණාද? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I think listen. ඇත්තටම not only for the exam purpose, as a teacher, you should be happy that you have done some psychology, educational psychology, and this is professionalism. Okay. So because of that, I really want you to listen to your recordings and then make notes and know the subject matter. It's very basics that I'm giving. Okay. So behavioral learning theories, the 2 learning theories we discussed from behavioral school of thought is classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov and operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. So they both come from behaviorism as a school of thought. එක මතක නැත්නම් යන්න ඕනේ ඕගොල්ලෝ first recording එකට. Behaviorism කියලා කියන්නේ those psychologists believe that our behavior is a reflection of our mind. No? Psychology is the scientific study of our mind through the observable behavior. We can't see the mind, so we look at the behavior to see what is going on in the mind. So here the learning is the behavior, right? According to behaviorism, our learning happens due to our interaction, due to our response to our environment. In psychology, environment is everything not within us. So my family is my environment, my neighborhood is my environment. You are my environment today, and I am your environment today, right? And your culture, your religion, your education, everything is your environment. And behaviorism believes that your behavior is your response to your environment. So here the behavior is learning, right? Your learner's behavior is learning. And it happens due to their response to their environment. කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. දැන් අපි බලමු මේක basic levels. අපි කියනවා මේවට simple learning. මොනවද අපි කියන්නේ? Simple learning. What is it? Simple learning. Simple learning කියලා කියන්නේ learning as a habit formation. Learning කියන එක නිකන් habit form එකක්. Forming habits. ඒක lower order learning, simple learning. හැමදේම කරලා නැත්තම් නැවත කරලා repeat කරලා කටපාඩම් කරලා rote learn කරලා ඔක්කොම දේවල් ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
හැබැයි යම් කිසි දේවල් ඉගෙන ගත හැකියි. Once again. So අපිට learning දාන්න පුළුවන් කොටස් දෙකකට. Simple learning, complex learning කියලා. Simple learning අපි බලනවා learning as habit formation. Right? Complex learning, learning is internal mental capacities of sensation, perception, remembering, memory, and not forgetting, logical thinking, creativity, and imagination. කියලා දානවා. හරි? එතකොට මේ classical conditioning, operant conditioning from the behaviorism as the school of thought, they talk about simple learning, learning as habit formation. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. ටිකක් අමාරුයි නැවත අහන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි interesting, you come to know yourself, right? හැමතිස්සෙම psychology කියලා කියන්නේ self help. දැන් ඇත්තටම අපි දන්නවා නම් අපේ මනස වැඩ කරන හැටි, අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න හැටි, අපේ දේවල් මෙමරියට දාලා කොහොමද අපි කරගන්නේ කියලා. It helps us to understand ourselves and make ourselves better, right? So now psychology has become a study of self for self help කියලා. නිසා මේක ඔයගොල්ලෝ හොඳට ඉගෙන ගන්න. දැන් ආයි මට තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ මතක නැහැ ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලලා නැහැ පාඩම් කරලා නැහැ. Because now I actually connected it the first lecture, right? So I repeat, now we have several learning theories and there are many other learning theories as well, but in your module there are 5. And today I actually wanted to highlight 2 learning theories: classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov, operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. හැබැයි අපි මේ දෙක ගත්තාම මේ දෙකම classical and operant conditioning both come from the behaviorism as the school of thought. අපි first day කතා කරපු 4 major schools of thought. Behaviorism, those psychologists believe that our behavior is our response to our environment. Now for example, මගේ behavior එක. හරි මං අද කේන්ති ගිහින් ඔයාලට බයිනවා. හරි sometimes I'm like that, okay? Today I'm not in a good mood, I shout at you. So this is my behavior. According to behaviorism, I behave like that because you did not respond to me. You did not respond to me. I asked you so many questions, nobody spoke. So you are my environment, right? You're my environment. So you all actually kept quiet without responding to me. I felt it's impolite. I actually responded to you. This is my behavior. I'm shouting at you. It's a simple example I gave you. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. That is their belief, right? That is their belief. අපිව ඒ විදිහට විතරක් නෙමෙයි ඔයගලන්ට අපි අනිත් ඒවා කතා කරාම තේරෙයි ඒක විතරක් නෙමෙයි, but simple learning happens this way, okay? So especially in the primary grades and all that, even as adults, right? You can relate it to your, once this is done, you can relate it to your own experience and see. Learning is not limited to schools and formal subject matter learning, right? What we learn from our society and all that. So that is also learning, right? Behavioral theories of learning, they talk about simple learning. Simple learning means learning is habit formation by repetition, by drilling, by association, etc. Right? To discuss how learning happens from the behaviorism school of thought, we have two theories to discuss: classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov and operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner. So first, basic assumptions common to both the theories because both are from behaviorism as the school of thought. Learning is habit formation. Learning is habit formation. Right? So environment, we are responding to our environment and it influences our behavior. They don't talk about how our internal mental capacities like sensation, perception, memory, problem solving, logical thinking, creativity ඒවා කතා කරන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ කතා කරන්නේ our learning is a result of our response to our environment. It's habit formation කියලා. Okay, habit formation. Now we will look at classical conditioning. First theory of learning we discussed, classical conditioning. Classical conditioning belongs to behaviorism, behavioral school of thought, proposed by Ivan Pavlov, Russian physiologist. Ivan Pavlov is Russian and physiologist. Why a physiologist here? Because as I told you on the first day, psychology branched out from physiology and philosophy. Psychology branched out from physiology and biology, right? And philosophy. So naturally those days, right, physiologists actually proposed subject matter related to psychology. So Ivan Pavlov is a Russian physiologist. Right. Now, if you want to actually know, if you want to talk about classical conditioning by Ivan Pavlov, you have to know some terms. They are acronyms. Now, you can first take down these acronyms. You have pen and paper. And then I will explain, I will give you the extended form of those acronyms as well. And then the related study, that is what මං කියන එකට story එකක් කියලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? Normally I talk about it as a story. So මුලින්ම acronyms ටික ලියා ගන්න. Are you ready? Pen and paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. පළවෙනියම ලියන්න US. It's an acronym, unconditioned stimulus. US, unconditioned stimulus. You can see it on the slides as well. Then UR, unconditioned response. Then NS, neutral stimulus. NS, neutral stimulus. CS, conditioned stimulus. CR, conditioned response. So you can't talk about Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning without using these 5 acronyms with the extended forms that I've given you. Right? Further, I want to tell you, unconditioned is naturally occurring. Unconditioned means naturally occurring. Conditioned means learnt. Conditioned means learnt. අපි කියනවානේ you're brainwashed, you're conditioned to think like that. ඒ කියන්නේ you're made to think like that. You have learned to. Right? කියලා කියන්නේ. එහෙනම් unconditioned means naturally occurring. Conditioned means learnt කියන එකයි. Okay ද?
Yes, miss.
Yeah. Now අපි යනවා study එකට, story එකට මුලින්ම. Now Ivan Pavlov was a Russian physiologist. Now he was doing an experiment with some dogs, right? He was doing some experiment with some dogs. It was physiology related, body related. He was measuring the process of salivation in the dogs. බල්ලන්ගේ කෙල ගැන තමයි පර්යේෂණය කරලා තියෙන්නේ physiology, right? Salivation of dogs, that he was doing a small study. So for the purpose, there were some dogs caged or put into a kennel, right? And he had to actually ring a bell to get the dogs to the kennel door. These are common things, right? General things. He used to ring a bell to get the dogs to the kennel door. And even to give him medicine, the dog's medicine, he used to ring the bell. To give them food also, he used to ring the bell and all that. So then, now, when he actually gave food to the dogs, the salivation was very high because it's natural thing, no? Now, even what's your favorite food? Maybe pizza, right? Mine is not pizza at all. I don't enjoy. Mine is chocolates, right? You see lots of chocolates, ice cream and all that. What happens? You can't help it, right? Our mouth watering and you get saliva in your mouth. So it's a natural process. So dogs also, he was measuring saliva, amount of saliva, and when he actually used to give them food, their salivation was more. It's a natural thing, right? And when he rang the bell, no salivation. No. Just because that the doorbell rings, you will not salivate. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the dogs also did not salivate. There was no salivation then. But now, in this, so you can say food platter. Food platter for the dogs is the unconditioned stimulus. Unconditioned natural stimulus. Naturally, what is the response of the dogs? Unconditioned response, dogs salivate. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Here you can see that food unconditioned stimulus because unconditioned natural. So the unconditioned response, natural response by dogs salivate. And then hear the bell. Dogs don't salivate to the sound of the bell. So the bell is the neutral stimulus, no salivation. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now he used to actually ring the bell to give food also. So 3 times a day the dogs get food and he used to ring the bell. So that means the bell and the food, they are combined, they are joined, they are associated, right? They are associated. Bell and the food. That means unconditioned stimulus and the neutral stimulus. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. They are associated. They are bonded for a while. For some time repetitively. Repetitively, repeatedly, දවසට 3 සැරයක් ගානේ දිගු කාලයක් මේ රිසර්ච් එක කරනකම බෙල් එකයි ෆුඩ් එකයි කම්බයින් වෙලා තිබවයි. To give food, he used to ring the bell. Then after some time, there was a new learning. Now, without food, when the bell was sounded to get the dogs to the kennel, maybe to give food or whatever, not food, very sorry, to give medicine or whatever, no food. The just bell was rung. Ivan Pavlov saw the dog salivate a lot for the sound of the bell. Dogs salivate a lot for the sound of the bell. That dogs have learned something new. Initially, when the bell was sounded, dogs did not salivate. When food was given, dogs salivated. To give food, the bell was sounded, both happened at the same time, bonded or associated. The dogs have learned, dogs salivated because food is there. Then later on, even though food is not given, only the bell was sounded for some other purpose, there was a considerable amount of salivation. That is the new learning and the response. Dogs learn to actually salivate to the sound of the bell. They have learned it. Initially, it was not there. That is conditioned stimulus. Dogs actually respond to the bell by salivating. It's the conditioned response. Condition means learned. So I will quickly tell you, we have only 2 more minutes. Next day also we will be discussing the same. So this is termed as classical conditioning. Association of the neutral stimulus with the unconditioned stimulus lead to a new learning, conditioned stimulus and conditioned response. So classroom එක කොහොමද මේක apply කරන්නේ? The learning is habit formation for simple learning and habit formation through repetition. That is actually behaviorism. It can happen. Now in your class, there is a child who doesn't like your subject. So your subject is a neutral stimulus to the student. Now you want to use classical conditioning and bring about the desired new learning, that is students like your subject. ඒක තමයි desired change you want. එහෙමනම් වට කරන්න ඕනේ මගේ මේ ළමයා he or she doesn't like my subject. It's the neutral stimulus. You have to find an unconditioned stimulus with regard to the child. ළමයා naturally කැමති දෙයකට හොයාගන්න ඕනේ. This child naturally likes to work with others. Right? He likes to work. He likes music. He naturally likes music. So what you can do is, you think, right, neutral stimulus is my subject, English. His unconditioned stimulus is music, songs and all that. So you're going to teach, combine the two, neutral stimulus and the unconditioned stimulus. You're going to teach English by using music and singing for some time. Then the student likes your subject as well. Then after some time, unconditioned stimulus is removed. Music or singing is removed. And now you get them to learn English in the normal classroom, traditional classroom. And still the student shows the interest because now the student has newly learned to actually like your subject. This is not enough. I know that I have to give you a lot of examples and application part. This is the basic introduction I gave you. And next Monday, when I have the session, I will explain this a bit more with some examples as well. Okay then?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Then thank you very much. It's 9:30. You will get your written assignment by Monday. I will make sure that I'm sending you all the notes as well. If you don't receive them by Monday, I have a lecture. I will definitely, I'm sending it anyway, but I have a lecture. You can actually make the complaint to me itself, right? Because I have not kept the promise scale. Anyway, I'm going to do it Monday morning only, right? Both the tasks, assignment and the notes, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
So can
ma'am.
I actually stop the meeting? Is it okay?
Yes,
Sure,
madam.
ma'am.
Yeah. Good night, every one of you.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, ma'am.
Right.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Ma'am.